Hi everyone, and welcome back to Rolling Mikan. Hey, this episode continues from where we left off with Derek Toh, CEO and founder of Highly. Because after years of running a tech company, I realized that tech will only speak tech language.
Right.
And
right.
communication will be in their own bubble. So simple example would be me going to my tech team and ask for something.
Right.
And they will look at me blank, like, what do you want? Like, even I spend 5 minutes just talking, see everyone is laughing about it. Nadia would laugh about it. Because it's not easy, like that you're all rounder in terms of, having tech and also communication.
Right.
So speaking about this, I do have a question to ask you. Is something more related to, in terms of, in this case, right, what are the challenges, what challenges are the companies facing in attracting the talents? If you say, you just mentioned just now earlier that there are talents available compared to, maybe last year.
Right.
So what are the challenges that the company are facing now in hiring these top tech talents in the market? What's going on?
I would say that one thing, because it's possible to, I'm thinking about like a software developer, engineer, right? It's actually possible to do your work remotely. A company in Malaysia is not just competing with other companies in Malaysia, you're now competing with the world in a way, especially if it's a very talented person, right? So, when I say that a lot of technology companies are restructuring, that this also means companies in the US are restructuring, and sometimes what they're doing is to kind of bring the average cost down. They don't want to just hire Americans, they're looking around the world for the best people. As a company, if you're operating in Malaysia, you have to realize that there's some competition coming from. I wouldn't say it's everything, but you're not just competing with Malaysian companies anymore. In fact, so I would say, building on that note, and we talked about like remote working and all that, right? So you have to kind of find your own balance as to how much remote working you think is okay. Or you can just say, you know what, it's no remote working. We want the developers who actually appreciate there's an office to go to, right? And these are the people who would not work for American company because it's fully remote.
Yeah.
So you kind of like pick your lane, right, and stick with it. So the way you might sound a bit weird, but to differentiate yourself is say we have an office, and you have like colleagues that you work well with, and that's our story. Right? Do you want to be just sitting at home and stuff like that? So I mean, no, but you I think a lot of people would think that most people want to work remotely, but you'll be surprised. By the way, on this note, right, we did a survey in Highly, I think 1 or 2 years ago, about this whole remote working thing. We found something quite interesting. So if someone is, let's say, fully in the office, majority of them said they prefer hybrid. So if they're fully in the office, they say they prefer hybrid. They didn't say fully remote, they say they prefer hybrid.
Right.
And if someone was 100% remote, most of them also say they prefer hybrid. So it's like, so you would think that everyone might prefer 100% remote, but the 100% remote people don't want to be 100% remote. They prefer hybrid. So I think the conclusion is, if a company can offer some kind of like, or empower the team to make those choices themselves. Sometimes I want to be in office. Sometimes I want to work remote. If I would like a company where there's an office to go to, where I can see my colleagues, right? So I think that's one interesting thing. It's not so much about remote or in office. I think most people just appreciate that they can choose
the balance.
Yeah, they can choose.
You have to strike the balance between, like maybe 1 day in the office.
Yes.
Okay, not fair for bosses.
Yeah.
Okay, let me kind of think from my perspective. Okay, probably 4 days in the office and 1 day at home.
I would say if you want to say 5 days, just pick that story and just go with it. And
okay, I think you need to stay firm in your decision.
Yes,
If you don't go like, wishy-washy, like yes and no, then you get confused.
Yes, and there's some people that like it, some people that don't like it. And it's kind of like a free market, right? So if you don't like it and it's not for you, then you might end up working in a different place, and that's fine, right? You just go work where you're happy, and the right person will also work here.
Do you think that benefit plays an important role on top of the work mode, like hybrid and all this. Do you think that the benefit plays an important role?
The benefit of flexibility.
The benefit, employee benefits.
Oh, employee benefits. Actually, today I find that there's a lot more focus on benefits.
Yeah.
Now, like financial benefits, especially. Yeah.
Okay. What kind of financial benefits attracts talents most?
I mean, people.
Do you have any idea?
People talk about like salary, how much leave you have. Like whether there's like insurance, like stuff like that. And I find that I have a theory about this. I don't have. It has to do with how all the lockdowns, especially, started getting everyone a little bit disconnected with their company. So it's become very transactional. So pre-COVID, when we say culture, what a lot of the talent wanted was a place that they belong. Right? They emphasize. So it's like salary is important, by the way. I'm not saying it's not, but it's very important.
Yeah.
But they look beyond it. Like it's not just salary. If I have two companies, let's say one is paying me higher than the other one, I may not necessarily choose the higher paying one if I like this other company better as a whole. So now, but I think because of the lockdowns, that's one that's changed the relationship with the company. So it's just very transactional. Money, how much money, right? And number two, by and large, especially in the US, I don't know. Specifically, like in Malaysia, I think inflation is not insane. It's okay here, managed quite well. But in the US, their inflation is really high, and a lot of their salaries have not really caught up. So as a culture, right, I think that everyone's just pushing to make more money. In the US, right, because the gap is getting bigger and bigger, and because the US basically controls the story of culture, that actually influences a lot of the people, even in Malaysia, to start thinking this way. But having said that, by the way, I think it's also something that we need to address. If the cost of living keeps getting higher and higher, and people can't afford houses and stuff like that, but their salaries remain the same, everyone's going to try to fix the first thing first, which is like my wallet, right? I can't even afford to buy a house. So in a way, I feel like it's very natural, sort of like human behavior. The Maslow's hierarchy thing. Right. Your most basic need has to be met. Right. So your most basic need, which is like I need a roof, food. If your most basic needs are met, then you go higher up the hierarchy. People talk about self-actualization. That's when I want to work where I belong. I want to do something that I love. I'm passionate about. I think right now, because of that gap, a lot of people are very much driven on the financial aspect a little bit more. Because I think there are many people who feel that maybe it's not met right now.
I heard you mention about culture, which is very interesting because the next question is I'm going to focus on culture as well. And it's a very important question because I think recently I even interview people with a head of culture. You see, it's a very interesting position, and it's very refreshing to hear that head of culture. So what do you do actually? So my question to you is that how crucial is a company to have culture in attracting the talents, and how can you communicate effectively about culture to your employees?
Right. Culture is a word that is understood differently by different people.
Yes.
The way I see culture is basically how the majority of the people in your company behave. That's how we see culture. Like that, how things get done. How do your people get things done in the company? That is culture. So for example, is everyone slow or everyone very fast? Is everyone very vocal? Or is everyone very passive? So those are elements of culture, and for us is you have to be very clear what your culture actually is, so that you get the right talent.
So how can you? The thing is that there are a lot of companies. I think they're struggling. What kind of culture? Especially traditional business, right? If they come from traditional businesses, they want to adapt. They want to be part of this trend where we talk about culture, we want to speak about it. But how to start to even talk about this? What do you need to look into in order to attract the right talent? Do you want to go back to family check, background check? Because some are family business, right? If you want to go that far, then it's a bit challenging.
Right.
So let's find a balance, right? In this trend, like most of the family businesses these days already pass down to their children.
Right.
Okay, when the children take over, or even like startups, right? They want to have that, but they don't know how to start, because culture is something, it's new, I would say, that people start focusing about, talking about DNA of the company. So how to even start this? Like, like if I'm new into this market, I'm a startup, okay, I know what I want, but to start out as a culture, to manage a group of talent, it's a different story, right? Where would you recommend the employer to start? To look into themselves, or to look into where do they want to go in the next 5 years, or should they just hire HR?
Hire the HR is probably
quite expensive though.
The last thing on the list.
Okay.
But in terms of culture, the reason I say that is actually culture is a business thing, not a HR thing, right?
Okay.
So it's how the CEO behaves, right? That is culture. So
okay, that's a very good point to
Yes.
because I think even my surrounding, there are a lot of people who struggle with that, to understand,
Right.
like, what is culture? Is it like hire HR to come in and make sure that they educate the right words to them, like, hey, this company is like this.
Yes.
So hearing from you that, it has to come from the owner,
comes from the CEO, the owner. I mean, the HR can definitely
execute
and facilitate this.
the vision, right?
Yes.
But it has to come from, okay, so now, like, for instance, I'm a CEO, I sit here like, okay, I want to talk about culture. I'm a very direct person. Do I go to the employer and say that this is who I am? Or how would you change things around in order for me to be able to translate my passion and my vision to my employees? The fact that I know I'm a direct person, that is not really an acceptable way of communication by employees.
Right.
So how would you recommend?
The way Hirely design our culture, I'll use the word design because we're very conscious into it. Yeah. So and we use our core values basically. So we actually list down 7 core values, and it's very specific. But the way we design is, I just ask myself a simple question. So we are a technology company that is operating. So it's innovative. It's a fast-moving world, right? So what kind of behaviors do we need to have? Do our people need to have for us to succeed? I just started with this question. As a company, what type of behavior or culture, if you like, for us to succeed? So one of our core values, for example, is move fast. It's very simple. 2 words, move fast is a verb. Like move fast. There's an action, like move fast. Another one is say communicate with radical candor. So it's one of others. So radical candor means like, I want you to be very direct. As long as you're saying it from as long as it's coming from a good place, right? But I want everyone to be as direct as possible, because sometimes when we are trying to make decisions and you're moving very fast, we need everyone to voice their opinion. We need everyone to put disagreements on the table so we can fix it quickly, and we can keep moving. And that's what an innovative company needs to do. So we sort of spelled all this out. What does the company need? Then the next question for me, for example, is I don't think I naturally fit all 7 sometimes, but naturally I do fit, let's say, the majority. Maybe that's why I'm like I say, an entrepreneur. But for the ones that I don't do very well, at least now I'm also very conscious, right? This is what I can lead by example. The ones that I don't do so well, that I sort of work on it. So what I'm trying to say is, the founder, the CEO, when you list down these behaviors that you want everyone to have, you also have to do a bit of self-reflection to ensure that you can also lead by example, like behave in this way. Because if it's something that you just cannot accept, right? Let's say move fast, right? So if you say, no, what, I don't like move fast, I'm a move slow person, then just don't have that as your core value. It's not, don't put something on the wall and ask people to do something that you yourself don't want to do, right? So, so the CEO or the founder needs to be very clear that they also resonate with this list, right? And that's more or less how you come out with, for us, how you come out with the type of culture you want in your company. Just pen and paper, start writing. Like for us, we have 7 core values, and the 7 core values are just behaviors that we expect from people.
That's a very good one. Like, What I was thinking just now was like imagining like, some boss will be like, yeah, Derek, where got time to do all this, need to make money, where got time to sit down to, just write on a piece of paper, you think I'm free, yeah. Like that image came in because I think as a business owner, our time we spend on making money,
Right.
that's for sure, right? Looking for the talent. And there are times that when now there are also talents who are going to ask about, what's your vision? What's the company vision and mission? There are talents sometimes, or the employees would say that, why do you create a vision and mission when, the bosses don't believe in it? They're not even doing it, right? How would you help employees out there to understand and, to evaluate the culture when they attend an interview?
Oh, how to evaluate the culture?
How to evaluate this part, because we talk about culture, right? From employer's perspective, I think you're given a very good advice is, like first self-reflection as a boss. Like I do that a lot because sometimes, like in my case, I know that I have very high standards. Like I move fast, but as I move, there will people also fall off the train because they cannot catch because it's too fast. And that's where I need to do a lot of reflection on my own as well. But when it comes to employees, right? Like you mentioned, not everyone gonna swing the same way. So what happened there, right? Like how can they evaluate as an employee when they attend an interview? Is that what they want? What would you advise?
Right. So one, as you're walking through the office, you can get a bit of a sense of the culture. That's one.
Sense of the culture.
Yeah, when you're walking
what did you
through the
sense in my office?
Did
Did you sense anything here?
Oh, it's a very good good energy. I feel like the space is very nice. It's
not
nice
quiet.
and bright.
Tech people normally very quiet though.
Yes, but that's true though. So because they're mostly engineers, so
Yes.
But if they're all salespeople and they're quiet, then there's a red flag, by the way. So but it's all engineers, so it's fine. But the other thing about culture is it's about people, right?
Yeah.
So that's why when you're people, especially the management or the leadership. So when you're interviewing with the leader, you can also get an idea what type of culture this company has. But I can suggest a question you can ask, right, to the CEO or the manager that you're meeting, right? So the question will go something along these lines to say that, hey, who within your team, right? So there must be, let's say, people that you believe are top performers.
Yeah.
You really value them, right? And maybe they've grown and been rewarded and been promoted. And so I ask them like, how would you describe them? Let's say, so ask the manager to see how would you describe the top performers in this company? What are they like? What do you appreciate about them?
Oh.
So when they explain to you, you can get a sense already what kind of culture this company is. Because when the CEO describes their best performers in the company, this is what the CEO values. And this is what the CEO values. These are the people that get rewarded. And over time, more and more people will start behaving like this. If you don't behave like this, over time you won't fit in, right? So you leave. So this is one way to get an idea what kind of culture this company has, just based on how the CEO describes their best performing people.
Right. So I'll give you an example. What I say. Correct me if I'm wrong too. Okay, I'm going to do this public.
Right.
I always tell people that we are performance based.
Right.
All the top performers in Orange Leaf, they are high performers.
Right.
And high performance, high reward. Does it make sense?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yes. Yes. But also many companies might say this, but you can't really catch the behavior by just this statement. So if someone asked me this question, right,
okay,
how do you describe the top performing people?
Yeah.
I would say like, they are very independent.
Okay.
They're very independent. Like most of the time, I give them a high level goal, and they can just run and kind of get it done. If they're not clear, they come and ask me, and they move very fast and they can think on their feet. So that's one. And they are great with ideas. They usually can come back. They're great ideas, and they are willing to voice their opinion with me, and we can logically debate things. Right? And most importantly, they get things done. So that's how I would describe it. So that is like so when you say high performing, right, it's very vague what a CEO considers to be a high performing person.
Right.
Unless you're in sales. Because in sales, you can see a number.
Yes.
Like, your revenue is what, so you're high performing. But there are lots of roles where it's not so clear.
Yep.
So then it just becomes about behavior, right? So for example, if I value someone who's independent, who just runs by themselves and who can challenge me back or voice their opinion, a different CEO may not like it. A different CEO might describe their high-performing people as, oh yeah, this person, whenever let's say, when I ask them to do something, they'll just get it done. They won't ask so many questions. I don't have to deal with their complaints. I want someone like that. Like they might describe it this way, right? So oh, okay, there's nothing right or wrong. That means this is what you value as a CEO, right? And that therefore becomes the culture.
Okay. Right. I do have a question about the strategy part, right? Retention, employee retention. I think that's so important. When you get somebody, you want to keep that people, right?
Right.
Like, what kind of strategy would you recommend for a company, steps that we can do in order to retain good talents?
What strategy to retain good talents?
Is there a formula to it? Or maybe highly formula? Can you share some?
I would say, again, following the Maslow's hierarchy thing, right? Yeah. You tick the basic boxes first, just make sure that everyone is, you don't have, you can never always be the top paying in terms of salary, but make sure at least market rate, so they're not thinking about, I need to make more money outside. So at least cover that. But it's just how you treat people, right? So I still think that end of the day, it's all, we are all social animals. That relationship really matters. And I'm just learning this recently, by the way. I would say openly that in the past, I've never placed a lot of emphasis on relationships.
Okay.
Because I always saw, I had a very negative lens when I look at relationships. The way I looked at it was politics. So if a company is very focused on friendship, this group versus that group, it's usually a bad sign.
Yeah.
Then people are not objective anymore. I want everyone to be like 1 is 1, 0 is 0. I don't care you're friends with who. Let's make the right decision here. So you make the right decision because it's the logical decision, not the one that your friend likes. Right? So you don't want that kind of political.
But that in tech industry still exists though. That relationship thing. It's still a huge gap over there.
And so what I've learned over time is that no matter what. So in theory, what I'm saying makes a lot of sense from a business point of view, but human beings are still social animals. And when the company grows bigger and bigger, right, groups will naturally form over time. So you cannot completely eliminate the relationship, right, or the feeling. And so what I sort of changed my mind on is that, you know what? This seems to be just a natural part of any large organization. And therefore, the CEO or the management, knowing this, needs to be involved, right? Not disconnected from So they need to sort of spend more time with your people. Don't just be talking about work. Just get to know them personally. And if you get to know them personally and share a little bit about yourself, then you form this very genuine relationship, stuff. And when people kind of get along and they have the relationship with other people in the company, I actually think that helps them to not leave, right?
Yeah.
Right? To not just simply
see the bonding stronger.
Yes. They won't just walk off, because someone else wants to pay them 100 ringgit more, because they can't get this, right? So it's not easy to get this, right? But I again, when I share this, right, I just want to say that we're not suggesting companies swing in this direction. It's all about relationships, you know. But you have to cover the basics first. Make sure everyone's pay is okay. Make sure you treat your people very well, and then make sure you don't disregard the fact that relationships in the company are very important to keep people there.
Right. So what would be your advice to tech job seekers out there in the market, right? Other than, communication that they need to be good at, any other tips that you want to give it to them? Because I see this trend where there's quite a number of HR they quit their job. They started to come out to create their own platform and give advice on HR advisory stuff. So job seekers will tend to get advice from HR or HR who resign and wants to give advice and all that. And you can sometimes get the wrong idea or information too, in my opinion, sometimes, because it comes from both perspectives, right? HR is HR, bosses are bosses and very different. So I think coming from you, at least, you've been around, you've been doing this for years, and you see, you kind of like witness the changes and trend. So other than communication, what would be other tips that you want to give it out there to tell other people or tech job seekers out there, to be better, or help them to get a better job or be better at what they do?
Or be, well, I suppose I think of it in a different way. When they're thinking about getting a better job, be better what they do, I think ultimately everyone wants to grow.
Yeah.
They want their career to grow, right? So if I'm thinking the question from that point of view, right, how does a talent or tech talent help their career grow? How do they get promoted and keep growing, right? The one thing I would always suggest to them is to always think from the company's point of view.
Hey, not fair lah. Later they say, hey, not fair ma. Like, company, what about me?
So you have to think from the company's point. Obviously, you shouldn't be shortchanging yourself. But what I mean by that is that if you're always thinking from the company's point of view, you will get promoted over time. Because what I'm trying to say is that you will start doing the things that the company values.
Can you break down a little bit? I understand what you're saying, but after years of running tech company, I realize it's not easy to understand, actually.
So
can you share some examples?
I give you an example of two different people. These are real people that I worked with before, right?
Okay, cool.
So in Hirely we have like open door policy and stuff like that, and people will sometimes walk in and they want to talk to the CEO, they want to ask the CEO a question. So there'll be groups of people that will come in and say, Derek, I disagree with this strategy that we're taking. I think if we do this, then we will waste a lot of money and we won't get enough clients, or we won't get enough job seekers. And I don't think it's the right path, right?
Yep.
Or I don't think we should expand to Singapore now. We should focus on Malaysia. So they very passionately sort of debate and make and talk about what they want or what they don't want about the company, right? And so when we're having this conversation, even they disagree, I think it's completely fine. We're talking about the company and how to help us be successful. And there'll be another group that will just come in and they say, Derek, how come you asked all of us to come back to the office? Why in the past you said that we can just decide by ourselves? Why is it now you're asking us to come back 5 days? As an example, right?
Yeah.
Or Derek, can you give me 5 extra leave every year because I need this? Right? So what I'm trying to say is, one conversation is about the company, another conversation is about themselves. And I'm willing to have both conversations, right?
Good.
So it's good. I mean, like,
it's a very clear. Now you give a very clear example.
Yes. So if someone wants to come and ask me for something for themselves, I think that's completely fine.
Yeah.
There are some circumstances, maybe it's a very valid question. But what I'm trying to say is, if repeatedly, every time this person walks into the room, is a question about themselves.
The I.
And another one person repeatedly when they come into the room is a question about the company.
Yeah.
Over time, you see that, obviously the one that is very focused on the company will, it will be valued more, right? Because they're thinking about, how do I contribute more?
Yeah.
How do I make this company better? And they really care about it, right? They're not talking about themselves, they're talking about the company. So when I share this, right, I'm very careful, and I don't want to come across as, you don't care about what your employee wants.
Yeah.
What I'm trying to say is that if someone's just repeatedly always just talking about what they want, right, then it's very difficult to grow, because you're eventually the people that are talking about what the company wants are the ones that get promoted first.
Yeah, I think to be fair, because I'm also a business owner, right? Also the CEO, and I think just to clear this, it's not that there are bad talent or good talent. Everyone is a good talent. I think the question from a business point of view is that how you should place the business as a priority in order to get the fruits, the reward. Because when you help the company to grow, you will get rewarded in the end at the back as well, because money have to come from somewhere, right?
Yes,
it's not fall from tree.
Yes. So the it's actually I don't know what symbiotic or synergistic. I don't know, but your success and the company's success is like connected.
Yes.
There is no way that the company, let's say, is going to lose a lot of money and shut down 2 months from now, and you get promoted. It's not going to happen, right? Yeah. So if you want to get promoted, your company needs to be doing very well also.
Yeah.
Right.
And you need to be part of the contributor
Yes.
to this journey,
Yes.
willing to work on it
Yes.
in order to reach the same destination.
Yes.
So if the whole question it's about, like, do I get this extra? Do I get that extra? I need to probably sell my liver to give it to you or something. Like the kind of questions. So I would just want to clear, because I think talent is a very interesting conversation to have. Also, at the same time, it's a sensitive conversation to have.
It is.
People will take it in a very different way if they want to.
Yes.
So I love this conversation because at the end, like I say, there's no bad talent, good talent. It's about the right fit talent for you,
Yes.
and the talent that that have the same vision with you that will grow. But if it's not the same vision, then they will fall out and they will join whatever that that fits them.
And just building on, so now I'm going to comment from a talent point of view, right?
Yes.
So the whole reason why I believe right now is getting a little bit more transactional in their relationship, because you mentioned something very interesting just now, in that if the company grows and perform, then you get rewarded, or if you're the contributor, right, you get rewarded for it. And I think we in the recent at least 1 year or 2 years, because I pay a lot of attention to the tech industry, but actually it's beyond tech right now with all the layoffs and the restructuring. I think one reason why a lot of talent feel a little bit disillusioned is that if you see someone who's working very hard for the company, they can still lose their job. So that this disconnect, I think if you took 5-10 years from now, because the economy was growing and everything, if you work hard and you're a contributor, you would get rewarded somehow.
Yeah.
You would get that back in return. So there was a very high trust. I use the word trust very lightly, but everyone believed that if I contribute, I'll get something back.
Yeah.
So in the last 1-2 years, I feel that broke a little bit because of the way the economy was growing.
Yeah.
Even people who are doing a good job might lose their job. So then suddenly it's like, why am I working so hard for this company? Actually, this is not my company, right? So I'm just someone who makes a salary here.
Yeah.
So it's just a job. So now I find the one message that's very common on social media, or like I said, is everyone reminding people that don't die for your company, it's just a job. It's just a job.
Yeah.
It's just a job.
Yeah.
And I completely understand why people feel this way.
Yeah,
Right.
in the end, it's like there are millions of people out there working. That one statement cannot address everybody. Like what I say also cannot address everyone as well. Like I say, I reward this based on orange leaf, right? But I'm aware that there are people who work hard out there who lose their job. Like they die for the company, like day and night, extra hours. They work like 50, 70 hours. Like that's crazy. But then again, not being appreciated,
Yes.
or they lose their job. Also, it happens as well. Yeah. So
But from that point of view, I guess you can also see, come back to our original point, which is, I guess if your company is not doing very well, then in the end, your career will also be affected, right? So your company needs to do well, right? So whether it's because of the economy or if your company does well, then you have a shot of your career growing.
Yeah.
It is symbiotic, if you like. I think it's still come back to that. I think so. In the last 1-2 years, I believe you're going through a little bit of a blip. But if for those out there who feel a bit more disheartened and stuff like that, I would actually encourage you to sort of pick yourself up, because economies are cycles.
Yeah.
So if a lot of people are disillusioned and you sort of said, you know what, I'm just going to keep going, right? I'm going to work hard on my career. You will get rewarded. Right, and if the more people, you can even think of it this way: the more people are disillusioned, the less competition you have, because now you stand out as one of the people who now who still want to run.
A lot of business appreciate, I would say, that they value this particular hardship. Just that you need to continue to find the right house to host you. In a way, to value your hardship. It's a matter of time. Just don't give up, because I've been jobless before as well. It can be really sad that you lose your job.
Oh yeah.
Especially when you have a family.
Yes.
Right.
Yes,
All right. So it comes to the last question. The last question that for today. So looking ahead, what are your goals for Highly in the tech recruitment space, and how do you plan to adapt to future industry changes?
It's moving so fast with like AI and all that, right? So we're experimenting a lot. So the one thing that I mentioned in the beginning that we're doing very differently is we adopted this hybrid model where we integrated a job portal with a recruitment agency. And we actually think there's a lot of potential for innovation here. And it's quite unique compared to most of the other players in the market. So either they are a job portal or they are agency that is buying data from the job portal.
Yep.
So it's quite fragmented and disconnected. So we're quite excited to kind of be able to innovate and play in this space. And one thing I really love about building Hirely is, and I tell this to the team all the time, we're very lucky that if our business is doing well, actually it means you help someone find a job. There's it's not, if you're not just selling like let's say a vacuum cleaner or which helps you clean the house, is great. But what I mean is that there's a positive impact from running a very successful business. And if we manage to innovate and build something really new, that is even more amazing, right? The amount of people we can help as a company. So it's one of those things that we're not just driven by money and revenue. We're actually driven by this the creativity, right? Like I love being in this world where we keep on experiment and trying to integrate AI into what we do. So I think it's actually a very exciting time because today AI is available as a service. Yeah. So I would say, like, again, 5 years ago, if anyone in Malaysia says they are AI company, I would say it's very difficult to win this game when the talent is in the US or in China or maybe in India. I don't know where all the strong AI people are. But now they are actually building AI and they're selling this to different companies as a service. And the main thing that you need is to know how to use this AI, and you need a lot of proprietary data, I think. So if you have a lot of data, you can now leverage this to build something really unique. And that's what we're trying to do right now in Hirely, to build this kind of recruitment company that maybe other people can't really do.
So you're too, I believe that Hirely adapt AI into your platform already.
We have. And now we're trying to connect it to the human, right? So any job portal can adapt AI.
Yes.
But the difference with Hirely is we have a recruitment agency directly attached.
Isn't it amazing? Because you're basically closing all these gaps that, it can actually be very powerful.
Yes, and our belief and bet is that in recruitment, you cannot completely remove the human being. Like it's a very human experience.
Yes.
When I talk to someone, within 10 minutes, I probably have a very intuitive sense of who they are, what they care about. Way more than what any AI can figure out. So I think if you can combine the data AI into this human kind of interaction, we could create something very powerful in the recruitment world.
Cool. So really nice to hear from you. It's a pleasure to have you here, Derek. It's I always see your work online on LinkedIn and all that. Now you're here today. So guys, thank you so much for viewing, and we'll share with you the next Rolling Mikan guest. So for now, thank you so much, Derek, for having you here today.
Thank you.